Ara History Untold, a brand new game from developer Oxide Games. This is a 4X game spanning from antiquity to the modern age and beyond, and it looks set to make some big waves upon release, which is very soon. So let's dive in and take a look at the game whilst I share my opinions on a game that could change the 4X scene. So, Ara History Untold currently has just over 40 leaders to choose from upon starting a new game, assuming I can count, all of which have their different traits, allowing you to play slightly different types of games once you've picked one of these leaders from the starting menu. After doing this, you're taken to the world map. Now this is where the big differences in what we've seen to date from the genre begin. Oxide Games have adopted a more natural looking map that doesn't follow a grid system, so no squares and hexes, making the map look much more beautiful and giving it so much more flow. The map is divided into regions, with 4 essential resources showing up in various quantities per region, depending on the particular biome or environment, if you will. So it's not a completely different system. You'll still have your food, timber, materials, which I will just refer to as stone because that's to me what it looks like, and wealth. So there is some similarities and you are not going into completely unknown waters. On top of this, there are a very large number, and more than I know of or can count, of what they call natural resources. These range from iron to sheep and flowers to uranium, and this is the next big area where I believe Ara stands out. These resource nodes not only have multiple possible harvestable resources themselves, they are also used as the initial ingredients in a vast and engaging crafting system. All of the resources in-game can be crafted into goods, consumables or supplies, some of which may in fact be ingredients for further crafting into even more advanced goods, consumables or supplies. You could start to harvest an iron deposit, which you could extract either silicates or iron from. You could then use this to craft a metal ingot, steel or a telescope. Your steel then helps you make air conditioning units, which in turn help your citizens stay healthier and happier. The possibilities are vast to say the least, and this rich and in-depth crafting system really helps you look after your cities and their people, as this is what the game is all about. It's not focused so much on map domination or destroying all your enemies. It's about building the cities where your people are happy to live. These are shown through 5 quality of life stats available in the city information panel, which are influenced by quite a few different aspects from the just mentioned goods given to the people as amenities. It could be buildings, religion, the size of your city, and so much more. And these all in turn affect the output of your cities, and so therefore your potential to grow and help propel you to victory. As mentioned, the game does come with the usual things you'd expect. Now I'm not going to go into full detail on all of these, as they don't really define the game so much, but I want to let you know that they are included. These include changeable governments, unlocked as you advance through the tech tree. Religion, of course you can spread around the world and influence other nations to follow your own beliefs. Paragons and advisors, those standout citizens ready to help advise and lead your people to do better, giving boosts and bonuses depending on their own characteristics. Randomly assigned goals to either compete with the other major races for, or some that are assigned to you by minor tribes. Small, on-tile cities who you can impress into joining you. Masterpieces, great works crafted by your paragons if so tasked to do so by yourself. Diplomacy, of course you can meet and greet those other nations or possibly show them your sword collection. And of course, combat and technology. Now these last two I want to expand upon a little more, as these are the other 2 fairly big changes compared to other 4X games. Units, as you'd expect, are created in your cities, but upon completion they go into a reserve pool, which is fairly different. They don't just turn up on the map, whereupon you can rally them from any of the cities you own as either an individual unit or as part of a much larger formation or army. These armies can have increased attributes and can have a paragon assigned to them as a general for further boosts. You can then use these in combat against your enemies in a pretty much head-on charge against your enemy and let's see who's tougher kind of a fight. There's not really too much in the way of tactics once you get down to the killing part. And then finally we have the technology aspect of the game. Now this is another area where Ara has decided to do something different. You no longer have a simple start to end technology tree line that you follow. You do of course have research output which comes from your cities and ends up as a global amount, which you then use to choose which technology you want to research and how fast you do then research them. However, when it comes to choosing your technology to research, these are broken down into what they've called eras, with roughly around half a dozen or so technologies per era, unlocking various advancements per technology as you would expect. Now, not too different so far, you know, you have your advancements, you have so many technologies per advancement, etc. However, in Ara, each technology is not strictly unique in what it unlocks. You could have, say, the wheel. This basic craftable item can in fact be discovered through one of 4 different technologies, unlocked throughout the game in different eras, as you do not have to research all of the technologies in a single era to advance to the next one. As I said, there's roughly around a dozen per era, and so you could only have to discover 4 of these before you can advance to the next era. Now, of course, this means that you could end up leaving some technologies and some things behind. These are choices you have to make. Do you attempt to advance quickly and get to those futuristic items to help you get ahead? Or are you worried that if you miss something, it may not come up again because, let's be honest, until you played the game several times, because it is just that detailed, you may not know what you can choose to skip and what you can't. Now, the reason for all of this is because the way you progress in the game in Ara is through the technology tree. There are 3 acts in Ara History Untold for each game you play, each with 4 eras. Now, as I mentioned, once you've researched a certain number of technologies, you can then research the advancement technology, which will move you to the next era, and then eventually to the next act. And once enough of the players are in the next act, the game moves on. And when the game moves on from Act 1 to Act 2, the weakest players on the game still so far are cold. That's right, so say if you have 10 players, the game will decide a certain portion of these. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, to be honest with you, if it's 2 per act or whether it's a variable number depending on how many players in the game. But these civilizations are classed as unmemorable. That's right. So when you move on to the next act, these unmemorable races simply disappear. So of course you have to make sure you're not falling behind, but do you risk attempting to rush ahead to keep getting those extra things, or do you take more time? Now, for all of you that may be fearing that Ara is simply a technology race of a game, do not worry. Because when you advance to the next eras, or more to the point when you advance to the next age, you are not ranked on how many technologies you have, or the first person to the next act. You are ranked on your prestige score. Now, this, as you would expect, like most strategy games, is a culmination of every aspect of the game put into a point system, which then ranks you against all of the other major races, or major nations I should say, and then puts you in list, and the bottom ones, who are simply unmemorable, disappear. So even if you don't initiate the change of acts, or you're even not one of the ones that then carries it over, it doesn't mean you're the one that's going to be left behind and forgotten. because you in fact could be pushing really well in all the other aspects of the game. So as you can see, this is not just another rinse-repeat copy of what we know in the genre. The team at Oxide Games have truly tried to make something unique. Now of course, is the game perfect? Naturally no. It has its shortfalls. It isn't an in-depth combat game like say the Total Wars, but that's okay because that's not what they've gone for. That's not what you'll find in the game. The crafting system is extremely detailed and could use a bit of an improved UI in my opinion to help you keep track and control of it. This is where the core of the game really comes through and shows how beautiful it is. But honestly, given half the chance, I know that the community that plays this game, just like it happens with so many other games, will come up with great mods for this, just like every great community does. And also, to be perfectly honest with you, I really do think the diplomacy is a little bit basic. But once again, I don't believe this takes away too much of the shine from the game, as this isn't where your focus is going to be. It's almost just like one of the extras that you have to have in a strategy game, and I'm sure it wouldn't be that difficult to upgrade or improve upon either, because most of the things you would expect are there, but it's just a little light. Also, and this is probably one of my bigger gripes to be honest, the war declaration system can quite easily be manipulated. As an example, if you are the defender of a war against someone, regardless of the outcome, it blocks both players from restarting hostilities with each other until a timer goes down. So if you're about to declare war on someone, but he beats you to it by just a turn or two, but then decides to back out because he's like, do you know what, I'm actually not going to win this war, I've had enough. You then have to wait till that timer runs down so you can actually declare war on him. So it allows other players to dictate your choices. Now I know of course you could say this happens in all 4X strategy games, you know, if someone declares war on you and you weren't expecting it, you may have to start building troops as opposed to infrastructure, but that's for me reacting to situations as opposed to actually taking choices away from what you're able to do. So for me, that is something that could get very annoying, but once again, war is not the focus of the game, but still, it would be nice to have freedom of choice added back in. I should also note at this point that the version I've been able to play that I was given for review, there are some known UI improvements that they're hoping to have in the full release version. So some of the things like the crafting control could have already been greatly improved. Who only knows? So I have very much enjoyed playing this game, and once you realize that your focus is supposed to be on your people and their needs, not simply taking over the map and beating everybody to death with the big stick, this is truly a beautiful game. And I really do think it is a great improvement on the genre as a whole. It offers a whole lot of fun and entertainment that I think you will be able to keep playing for many, many hours. So that brings us to the conclusion where I give this game a thumbs up, and leave you all by saying that I hope you found this review useful, and until we see you again, as per always, I hope that you can stay safe, happy, and healthy.